Okay. This meeting of the towns of Lake Clark Shores Code Enforcement Board will be called to order October 25th, 6:30. Emily, would you please call roll?
Chair Paul Hughes.
Present.
Vice Chair Gerard Sanchez.
Present.
Board Member Ariel Hernandez. Board Member Deb Moody.
Present.
Board Member Wesley Cook.
Here.
If you'll please stand and we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The chair would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. The consent agenda includes the approval of the minutes for the September 26th Code Enforcement Board hearing, unfinished cases now in compliance, and new cases in compliance. Are there any additions or changes to the minutes of our September 26th meeting?
Not for me.
Hearing none, we'll move on to unfinished cases now in compliance. Eric?
Good evening, board members. We'll be starting on page 2. Agenda item 9, case 23-0293 is now in compliance. Case 23-0458 is now in compliance. Case 23-0459 is now in compliance. Moving over to page 3. Case 23-0583 is now in compliance. Cases 23-0575 and 23-0576 are now in compliance, and they came into compliance on October 6th. Case 23-0585 is now in full compliance. Page 4, case 23-0661 is in full compliance. Cases 23-0662, 23-0663, and case 23-0664 are now all in compliance. Page 5, case 23-0703 is now in compliance. Are you also asking for the cases that are in compliance for new cases?
Yes, sir.
All right. Give me 1 second. At the bottom of page 5, case 23-0617 is now in compliance. Moving to the last page. Okay. That completes all the ones for compliance.
Eric, my pen ran out of ink. Could you do page 3 again?
Absolutely. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right, starting from the top, case 23-0583 is in compliance. Cases 23-0575 and 23-0576 are in compliance as of October 6th. And case 23-0585 is also in compliance.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
We'll start with, we'll go to disclosure visits.
I will need a motion.
So move.
Oh, you're right, Emily. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion approved. Disclosure visits. If anyone on the board would indicate whether they've been to a property that's going to come before us tonight or had any discussions with property owners. In cases that come before us tonight, if you'd please let us know at the time we hear the case. Those that will be witnesses tonight, if you would please stand and be sworn in by the town's attorney.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you'll give may the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Unfinished cases, lien imposition. First case is 230034,
That's correct.
David Janes. Eric, have you had any communication with Mr. Janes since our last meeting?
Yeah, so on 10/12/2023, the notice of hearing was hand delivered to Mr. Janes via body cam recording. I asked him if I could go inspect the pool. He stated to me that the pool was not ready, requested for me to come back the next day at the same time. When the following day came, which was 10/13/2023, I also recorded it on my body worn camera. I knocked on the door and remained at the residency for approximately 2 to 3 minutes. I never received any contact from, never physically, met him at his property, and I've had no communication from him since. We were supposed to have the next door neighbor to the right come in because she did stop me yesterday. She wanted to give testimony. She's not here, but it was informed to me by the neighbor that the pool is still in a deteriorated state. She looked through the fence. I'm not able to, but based on what she was telling me, she can still smell the rot. And from what she can see, she sees that the pool is in a deteriorated state. I, however, could not visually see it myself.
Discussion.
Did you by any chance go into her yard, or you asked her if she can go in her yard and see or smell what you?
Yes, so when I initially presented this case, the original complainant, who was a neighbor on the left, Mr. Perez, when I went into his backyard, the smell of stagnant raw water is what I smelled yesterday when I went to the neighbor on the right of Mr. James' property. She also brought to my attention other violations, which I'll be addressing, but I can confirm that what I smelled before is what I smelled now, and that we have neighbors that are still complaining of the same thing.
Did he apply for the permit? Because I think that was,
For the pool pump,
Yeah.
Emily, I don't believe any permits have been initiated. Is that correct?
I'm not aware of anything, but I didn't check.
Okay.
We are in a lien imposition hearing, and I would recommend that we move for the lien. That's my recommendation. If there's not any further discussion, Chair would entertain a motion.
I'll second it.
Uh,
I'll make the motion.
Yeah,
Right.
Wes. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion
Can we discuss it a little bit?
Yeah.
I feel somewhat bad for this person, a little bit. I mean, he was here. I look back at our minutes and the video of previous meetings, and it was clear to me, and obviously I would think it was clear to him, that he had to get with Eric. He had to get the permit. He had to do that stuff. You know, he was cited on March 20th, and he had till the 24th to do something. He didn't show up at in our March meeting. He didn't show up in the April meeting. He didn't attend the May or June meeting. We didn't have a meeting in July, but he came here in September, and that's where we told him, you got to do this. Just go get the permit. I think Manning was here at the time, and he's done nothing. So I feel bad that we're looking at $54,000 and going, but we've made every effort, I think, to help him to come into compliance. That's all. That's my. But I agree with you, and also I don't want the town to have any type of liability because of the stagnant water, the smell, and the smell's been. I feel sorry for the neighbors all around because it's been going on since March. God forbid that something, mosquitoes or some infestation. We're by a lake. We got rats. There's just a lot of things that, unfortunately, like Wesley, you had said, we've been dealing with this for now, 6 months? 6, 7 months, and nothing is moving forward, unfortunately. I feel like our hands are tied and we need to just move forward and
and go with what Paul is suggesting.
If there's not any further discussion, would someone like to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make the motion. Based upon the testimony and evidence presented in case number 23-0034, I move that a certified copy order to impose a lien be recorded in the public records of Palm Beach County with such order to constitute a lien on the respondent's real property and personal property as provided by law.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I think we're on page,
Now, it's my understanding that that 250 a day will continue to
Yeah.
grow.
Yes.
Until he complies.
I think we're on page 2, case 230519.
Yes, that's correct.
Eric, would you like to present that, please?
Sure. The notice of hearing for this case was posted on 10/12/2023. I haven't had any further communication with the resident. However, she is, she recently lost her husband, so she's grieving, and a widower. I posted the order to her door, but as of today, I've had no further communication.
Okay, on October 25th, the board moved to a $50 a day fine may be imposed until compliance. Is there discussion?
Have you heard anything from this lady at all?
So she's an older resident. Her husband passed away. They're planning the funeral services.
Wasn't that the same thing that happened, same story as last
Mhm.
month?
It was, yeah, but she's kind of doing on her own from what I heard. So I think the funeral and all this is just me speculating. I believe that she's probably grieving. This probably isn't a high priority on her list. The violation is for the 2 vehicles with expired tags. It is in a secure parking lot. It'd be my recommendation to maybe we can give her a little more time, or maybe we could think about reducing the fine, just because, she is on her own. She did lose her husband. So, it's not a health and safety. It is in a secure gated lot. So, that's just my 2 cents.
But you haven't actually face-to-face communicated with,
No, the last conversation I had was right before last month's, or when this case was heard last time. That was the last communication that I had from her.
And
Well,
what did she indicate to you at that time?
So she indicated to me that, she had lost her husband. She's heavily grieving. She was planning the funeral all herself, and that, the code violation wasn't on her high priority list. She wasn't disrespectful. She was very respectful, but you can tell that she's heartbroken. So,
well, our next meeting is not until December 6th. So we could give her some time between now and then.
I would be in agreement with that. Is there anyone from the town or anybody know this lady personally? I know personally this judge, I don't know. But obviously this person has served our community. I would think somebody here in the town might know her personally that could reach out to her. In her time of mourning.
yeah, I can reach out to Dana because, she's been in the town for quite a long time. She might have a personal contact number that maybe we could, maybe try to reach out to her.
Or her adult children, I would assume. She has adult.
I didn't ask. I don't want to assume.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead, Wes.
Based upon the testimony and evidence presented in case number 230519, I move the board continue this matter until the code enforcement board meeting on December 6th, 2023.
Second.
Yeah.
Deb seconds.
Yep.
Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I think we're at
You should be on page 5.
page 5. New cases?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 230443. Eric, if you would, please.
Absolutely. Good evening. I am Code Enforcement Officer Eric Richwagon, representing the town of Lake Clark Shores. This is case number 23-0443. The property owner is identified by 2018 2IH Borrower LP. Site address 7700 Westlake Drive, Lake Clark Shores. A notice of violation was issued on 4/20/2023 for code section 125-263 subsection 8. House address numbers are required to be on the home. A notice of hearing was issued on 10/12/2023. As of today, a reinspection was done, finding that the house numbers are still not on the property, so the violations still exist. I haven't had any communication with this particular property owner. I actually don't even know if anyone resides there. It would be my recommendation, seeing as this does date back to April, to give 7 days to come in compliance. If not, a fine of $50 per day may be imposed.
Eric, are you aware of any particular reason why it would take 6 months for us to get to this point?
So I present a certain amount of cases each month. If I were to bring, 30 or 40, I believe it would probably overwhelm us. So I take the oldest cases and present them. So I'm now caught up to about July. So I bring a certain amount to not overwhelm, because we don't just present new cases, we also hear the old cases. So I know sometimes our meetings can run long. So some of them get a little bit pushed back.
Okay,
I think we need to get caught up.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to
David said-
plan for the next meeting to be here longer in the town, but I don't think, yeah, I agree, Paul, or whatever. This is 6 months
Mm.
and now we're coming and now we're going to start. And I appreciate the thought, Eric. Don't get me wrong, but I guess when you came on board, I kind of expected that we were going to
Be
Have a-
inundated.
be inundated and we'll probably
Okay.
have a couple of meetings kind of going. I think personally, I don't know what the rest of the board, but maybe we need to just block out more time and get through these cases a lot faster, or at least tend to them, because 6 months that's a long time, I think, so what does the rest of the board feel?
I agree, and thankfully, there were no emergencies where police or fire weren't able to locate the home.
Mhm.
All right. let's
All
go
right.
ahead with the,
Would someone like to make a motion?
yeah, I'll make a motion.
One-
Is there further-
Oh, you, go ahead.
Was the notice sent to the owner of this house?
Yeah, the notice of violation was posted to the property and mailed out. The notice of hearing was posted to the property and to town hall.
Was there a return receipt on what?
No return mail came back. So as far as I can tell, the mail was properly delivered.
But do you send them certified? Don't you have to have the green card?
Not for the notice of violation. The notice of violation gets posted to the property, and it also gets sent out regular mail.
Have you been by the property to see if the notice is still on the door?
Yeah, well, the original notice is obviously not there because of weathering or stuff like that. The notice of hearing, when I checked today, was not on there. So it's very well possible that someone did see it and collected it.
Do we know if this is an Airbnb or anything now with the new ordinance that you got to register?
So I'm actually working on that. There's 10 properties inside of Lake Clark Shores that are Airbnb and VRBOs. This one doesn't fall under that as of now. However, with Airbnbs, if someone's currently renting one, it won't show up on the site. But I am checking the site every week.
And I'm just curious, is this something through PAPA, the property appraiser's office or whatever, that maybe we can look this up and maybe see where the owners actually live or have another mailing address or?
Yeah, so what's on PAPA will be the owner's information and their mailing address, but it is up to the property owners to update PAPA with any new current information. So if their address changes it's up to them to inform Papa, because that's the information we go off of.
Okay, so we already, okay,
If there's no further discussion, would someone like to make a motion?
yeah, I'll make a motion. Based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 23-0443, I move that this board finds the respondent in violation of sections 125-263 sub 8 of the Town Code of Ordinances. Respondent shall comply with the Town Code of Ordinance on or before, and what's,
November 1.
yeah, no, that's, yeah, November 1st. November 1st of 2023, if the response fails to comply with this order in a timely fashion, a fine in the amount not to exceed $50 per day may be imposed. A fine assessment hearing will be held on December 6th of 2023 if necessary.
Second.
Does that give us enough time to get to the notice?
It gives them a week.
A week? Will we be able to get it to them in
Oh,
November
hold on, let me check the calendar. Well, actually, it's,
That'd be next Wednesday.
How soon do you send those out?
yeah, it might be better if it was
2 weeks?
Friday, maybe on the 3rd.
Okay. Any objection to changing that
I'll
to
amend it.
November 3rd?
I'll amend it to November 3rd.
Okay.
Is that
No
you?
objection?
No objection.
Okay. Les, no objection?
No, no
Okay. We have a second?
Yes.
Debbie.
Debbie? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next case, 230454.
Yes.
Eric?
Yes. Good evening. I'm Code Enforcement Officer Eric Richwagon, representing the town of Lake Clark Shores. This is case number 23-0454. Property owners identified by Bellinger Properties LLC, site address 7745 Westlake Drive, Lake Clark Shores. A notice of violation was issued on 4/20/2023 for code section 34-19 subsection 9 subsection Bravo. The driveway has cracks and breaks in it and needs to be re-blacktopped. A notice of hearing was issued on 10/12/2023. As of today's date, the violation still exists. However, with this property had a prior owner. So the property was sold within 2 to 3 months of the violation being issued. The new property owners, who are Bellinger Properties LLC, reached out to me. They're doing a full remodel of the home. They pulled the permits. I spoke to them. Because they're doing the remodel of the home, the dumpster wasn't there today, but there's a dumpster that they've been storing in the driveway. So it was brought to my attention that they want to do the inside first, because if they do the driveway now, this heavy duty dumpster that gets pulled in and out is going to damage it. I agree with them. So I believe if we can give them more time, because they pulled every other permit they've needed to, they've been in constant communication. So I believe we could give them until December. So I'd recommend 60 days. If not, a fine of $50 a day be assessed.
Well,
Discussion?
I'm thinking, let's go to January, just to give them holidays. I mean, what is it? It's going to be less than 60 days when we do December 6th.
Yeah, I mean, January is fine with me. Like I said, they've been
On it, yeah. I think if we, 60 days, and that gives them, and obviously you'll remind them, hey, or at least they'll be pulling a permit. Did they tell you when they think they'll be starting on the driveway? That's what I really would like.
Yeah, so again, when they purchased it, so again, the violation was written in, in April. So about two, maybe 3 months after that is when the new people, purchased it. They started pulling the permits and then started doing the work. So the property owner is going to give me a call tomorrow. I can get a better rundown, but it looks like most of the stuff on the inside has been done. They're probably just needing to pass final inspections. So
that should be more than enough time by January.
I believe so, yeah.
Have you gotten any complaints from the neighbors?
No, I get complaints from other places, but they don't start work until 9, sometimes 10 a.m. They don't work, well, at least I get off at 4. When I do my final spin, usually they're wrapped up by then. Any dust or debris, they put up the privacy screening. They seem to be doing everything that you're supposed to do.
When is our meeting in January, Emily, if you don't mind?
A minute. You haven't had any issues with 7745 Westlake Drive?
It's going to be on January 24th.
You haven't had any issues with them,
I
right?
think that's fair. What do you think?
It's up to you if you want to give them the 24th or
90 days.
that's 90 days.
They seem to be working. I mean, they're working with Aaron, with Eric.
Yeah, and I just discussed it with Manny. Manny hasn't had any issues with this property.
Okay.
Because I figure they got to pull permits. They might still have to get bids. They might take time, just to get the work. Or by that time, I think they would be completely done.
Yeah, I mean, they're completely doing the house, so it just makes the community look nicer.
And then the holidays are right there.
Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. All right, based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number
23,
23-0454
54.
of the Town Code of Ordinances, respondents shall comply with the Town Code of Ordinances on or before January 24th of 2024. If the respondent fails to comply with this order in a timely fashion, a fine in the amount of not to exceed $50 per day may be imposed. A fine assessment hearing will be held on January 24th of 2024 if necessary.
Is there a second?
Second.
Wes seconds. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next case, 230496. Eric?
Yes. Good evening. I am Code Enforcement Officer Eric Richwagon, representing the Town of Lake Clark Shores. This is case number 23-0496. Property owners identified by Nuevamar LLC, site address 7423 Clark Road. A notice of hearing was issued on 4/27/2023 for code section 125-263 subsection 8. House address numbers are needed on the home. There were house numbers at one point, but they had deteriorated. So a notice of hearing was issued on 10/12/2023. Reinspection at today's date finds that the violation still exists. I did find out that this property is a rental, because I never really saw anyone there, but there happened to be a young lady that was stepping out. She informed me that the property owner was aware of the violation and that she was going to have it corrected by today's date. Unfortunately, the reinspection today shows otherwise. So based on the time frame, I'd recommend giving 7-10 days to come into full compliance. If not, a $50 per day fine may be assessed.
November 3rd, right? Same as the previous case.
Yeah.
What I would suggest. I'll go ahead and make a motion.
Is there any discussion?
No.
Okay.
Based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 23-0496, I move that this board finds the respondent in violation of section 125-263 sub 8 of the Town Code of Ordinances. Respondent shall comply with the Town Code of Ordinances on or before November 3rd of 2023. If the respondent fails to comply with this order in a timely fashion, a fine in the amount not to exceed $50 per day may be imposed, and a fine assessment hearing will be held on December 6th of 2023 if necessary.
Is there a second?
Second.
Deb seconds. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next case, 230535, William Smith.
Yes. Case 23-0535. I'm Code Enforcement Officer Eric Richwagon. The property owner is identified by William E. Smith Jr., site address 8220 Westlake Drive. A notice of violation was issued on 5/5/2023 for code section 34-19, subsection 9, subsection Bravo. The driveway was dirty and needed to be cleaned. A notice of hearing was issued on 10/12/2023. Reinspection on today's date shows that the violation still exists. I did speak to the property owner today because what happened was he had cleaned part of the driveway, so half of it was cleaned, but the other half wasn't, so that kept him still in violation. As I was taking my photos today, the property owner came out. This is my first time with me actually speaking to him. He informed me that his sister has been diagnosed with cancer, so he's been dealing with that. He himself is ill, so he's been having personal issues and family issues. So based on that evidence that I've gathered, he told me that he can have it done by this Saturday. I'd like to give him until Monday just to show a little support, seeing as he's going through so much. So my recommendation would be to give him until this coming Monday. If not, a fine of $50 a day may be imposed.
Discussion.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. What, do we have, you want to do the week or 2 weeks, or you want to give them until December 6th?
Let's do 2 weeks.
Okay. So 2 weeks from today is November 1st or November 8th.
Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, Deb.
Based on the testimony and evidence presented in case number 23-0535, I move that this board find the respondent in violation of section 34-19(9)B of the Town Code of Ordinances. Respondent shall comply with the town's Code of Ordinances on or before November 8th, 2023. If respondent fails to comply with this order in a timely fashion, a fine in the amount not to exceed $50 per day may be imposed. A fine assessment hearing will be held on December 6th, 2023.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Gary seconds. Got to get faster.
I know.
Further discussion?
No, I think that's more than fair. And that was since April also?
May 5th.
Okay.
Yeah, May
May 5th.
5th.
With 4 months.
Yeah.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay. I think we're on page 6,
Yes, correct.
case 230711, William Mackle.
Yes.
Mackey, I'm sorry.
Yes. So it'll be for both cases. So
Yeah,
cases 23-0711 and case 23-0712. I am Code Enforcement Officer Eric Richwagon, representing the town of Lake Clark Shores. The property owner is identified by William Mackey, site address 1829 East Court. And on 7/12/2023, a notice of violation was issued for section 125-891 subsection B. Pool must be surrounded by a protective wall or fence. And section 34-19 subsection 9 subsection D. There's a missing section of fence that needs to be repaired or replaced. Notice of hearing was issued on 10/12/2023 for both cases. I've been in constant communication with the property owner. He's had violations from me in the past and always comes into compliance. They have pulled their permits. They put up a privacy screening, which is a temporary, not permanent. The reason it's taking a little bit longer is because instead of just replacing with the same part, they're actually going to be installing a stronger, more rugged fencing. So the property owner is just asking for more time. He's currently up in Boston, but the person in charge of the property, the contractor, has been staying in contact with me. They just say they just need a little more time. So that's
this
it.
pool has been unprotected since July 20th?
No, it was fully unprotected. It was fully exposed because of the fencing. They put the privacy screening. There's a orange protective meshing that goes, you can see it right there, and it goes all the way through the back. Because it was just one small little part that was protected, which wasn't good enough. So he has the privacy or the temporary screening going toward the back.
Do you know when that was installed, the safety protection?
Give me 1 second.
Any
It
idea?
was issued on 7/12/23. It went up because there was that part there that was already up. So it was 2 weeks from that 12 to 13 days after that they wrapped the whole back of it with it. Because I got a call from the property owner saying I had permission to go on their property to check it.
And they've applied for a permit?
Yes.
When did they apply, do we know?
I'm not sure the exact date that it was issued, but I know that it has been issued. It was not denied, and that they're currently going through all the required steps.
One thing, Eric, and on this is the type of case, obviously, this is a safety issue. Any of those that you have that are backlogged, we should deal with them much faster, just or prioritize them earlier if we can.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, I'll make a motion.
Okay, Wes.
Based on testimony evidence presented in case number 230711, move this board find the respondents in violation of sections 125-891 sub B of the town code of ordinance. Respondent shall comply with the town ordinance on or before August, hate to give them that much time, December 6th, 2023. If the respondents fail to comply with this order in a timely fashion, the fine amount not to exceed $200 a day may be imposed. Fine assessment hearing will be held on December 6th, 2023, if necessary.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Jerry seconds. Further discussion?
Do you have to give them until December 6th? Like we did with the others, we gave them until, I think, the 3rd of November.
True, but the reason I did that is we don't have a meeting in November. We would have made it in November.
Oh, let me ask you, how long do you think they need for I mean, they put the permit in, you're saying, I mean, how much time do they really need?
I mean, when I spoke to Mr. Mackey, I told him that this needs to be completed as soon as possible. I mean, they pulled the permits, the work should be done, say 2 weeks. If you want to give them 2 weeks, then, you know, I believe that would be more than fair.
Okay, I'll
You wanna amend it?
amend the date to November 9th.
Is there any
November
objection to changing it to November 9th? Deb,
No problem.
Jerry?
No problem.
No problem here. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. And Mr. Mackey, 230712, missing section offense.
I'll do that one too. Based on testimony evidence presented in case number 230712, move that this board find the respondents in violation of sections 34-19 sub 9 sub D of the town code of ordinances. Respondents shall comply with the ordinance on or before November 9th, 2023. If the respondents fail to comply with this order in a timely fashion, the fine the amount not to exceed $200 per day may be imposed. The fine assessment hearing will be held on December 6th, if necessary.
I'll second it.
Jerry seconds. Further discussion?
No.
Wes?
No.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next case, 230714.
Yes.
I'm not going to try to pronounce that.
I'm going to do my
Yeah, Bill?
best, but I will probably misspell it or misstate it. Case 23-0714. I'm Code Enforcement Officer Rich Wagon, representing the town of Lake Clark Shores. Property owner identified by Nabil Abakald. Site property address 1839 East Court. A notice of violation was issued on 7/12/2023 for code section 34-19 subsection 7. There was prohibited outdoor storage being stored on the back right part of the fence. Notice of hearing was issued on 10/12/2023. As of today's date, the violation appears to still exist. However, the property owner did walk in before the meeting, came over and spoke to me. I'm going to go out to the property tomorrow. He told me that everything's already been addressed and fixed. He just didn't know that he was supposed to contact me. So It would be my recommendation to give until Saturday. That way I can have time to go out there and inspect. And as long as everything's good, we can go ahead and have it closed. So my recommendation is give till Saturday. If not, a fine imposition of $50 a day may be imposed.
Is there a picture of the?
I don't see
storage?
any in the folder. Do you have any pictures on somewhere?
From the, well, from the
For the
actual-
outdoor storage, I don't have any
So
pictures.
this was a complaint that came in from the neighbor to the right. So the violation could only be seen from the neighbor's side because you have fencing on both sides. It's on the right side, but it's behind the fence. But there's exposure on the neighbor side because it was a neighbor complaint that came in. So I was unable to see it because that property is now being rented. And the property owners don't want me on their property now.
So we only know from the neighbor's word?
No, I have the photos in the actual notice of violation.
Okay,
This is from the notice of hearing,
okay.
Do you have the pictures in your folder? In the
not in the
folder?
folder, I mean,
No.
on the phone.
All right, I'll make a motion.
Is there any discussion? Jerry, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, based on the testimony evidence presented in case number 23-0714 of the Town Code of Ordinances, respondent shall comply with the Town Code of Ordinances on or before October 28th of 2023. If respondents fail to comply with this order in a timely fashion, a fine in the amount not to exceed $50 per day may be imposed. A fine assessment hearing will be held on December 6th, 2023, if necessary.
Second that one.
Less seconds. Further discussion.
No.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, case 230733, Marissa Murphy.
Yes. Case 23-0733. I'm Code Enforcement Officer Eric Richwagon, representing the town of Lake Clark Shores. The property owner is identified by Marissa Murphy, site address 1905 Mediterranean Road West. On 7/25/2023, a notice of violation was issued for Code Section 34-19 subsection 9 subsection B. The driveway was dirty and required cleaning. On 10/12/2023, a notice of hearing was issued. As of today's date, the violation still exists. This property was turned over. The previous owners, whether they got the violation or not, they didn't pass it along to Miss Marissa Murphy. However, when I was posting the hearing, Miss Murphy happened to be there, so I hand delivered it to her. And they said that they didn't know anything about it, but that they were going to get it taken care of. They're asking for 30 days, I believe, because it's possible they didn't know. And I mean, the driveway is dirty, but because they're the new property owners, I would recommend giving them 30 days to come in compliance. If not, a fine of $50 a day may be assessed.
When was your notice of violation issued?
So the notice of violation was issued on 7/25/2023. And at that time, the property owner was Ludwicus Adrianza, and it is now owned by Marissa Murphy.
Do you know when Marissa Murphy purchased it?
I don't.
Wouldn't a notice of violation appear on like a lien search or an open permit search or a property search?
It would not on a public record search. If they contacted the town, I don't know if it would have been disclosed or not. I know you do some.
Yeah, if they did a lien search, it would be disclosed, but I don't know if they did a lien search or not.
So they disclosed the code violations with a lien search?
Yes.
Okay.
They asked for 30 days. Is that what you said, Eric?
Yeah, I met Miss Murphy. She was very pleasant, very understanding. I handed her the notice of hearing. She fully understands. Even her husband contacted me the next day, said he tried to go out there to clean it, but his pressure cleaner
Right.
that his father gave him caught on fire. So
All right, I'll go. Do a motion.
Okay, Jerry.
All right, based on the testimony evidence presented in case number 23-0733, I move that the board finds the response in violation of section 34-19 9B of the Town Code of Ordinances. Respondents shall comply with the Town Code of Ordinances on or before December 6th of 2023. If respondents fail to comply with this order in a timely fashion, a fine in the amount not to exceed $50 per day may be imposed. A fine assessment hearing will be held on December 6th of 2023 if necessary.
Do you want to make that November 22nd, since she asked for 30 days? Or December 25th? November 25th, I'm sorry.
Well, that's going to be Thanksgiving, right?
November
Want to
23rd.
do November 20? You working November 22nd, Eric?
I don't believe so.
You're not, okay, so,
So you want to make it November for
no,
30 days from today?
yeah, so Saturday, November 25th? But you're not,
No, I work Saturdays.
you work Saturday, okay, so you Saturday of Thanksgiving week,
That shouldn't be an issue.
okay.
Is there any objection to changing?
I have none, I'll amend it if you guys want.
That's fine.
Wes,
No problem.
no objections? Okay,
We'll amend it to November
25th.
Saturday, November 25th.
Further discussion? Who seconded the motion?
I will.
Wes? Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay. We will now move on to board comments and suggestions. Any comments before we talk about what I presented you all?
I just,
Go ahead, Jerry.
no, I just brought it up before. I think the biggest thing, and just to help with your caseload, Eric, I'm all for if you guys are willing and the town, maybe we just get it all caught up and if we can before the year end. I mean, our net for December 6th and
Yeah, because so those few from April, that was it. As you saw, it then rolled into July. So yeah, during the next meeting, we didn't have one in July, so things got slightly behind. So some of the more important ones, like the raw sewage, kind of had to take precedence. But yeah, during the December one, I can take anywhere from 20 to 30 if you're okay with the caseload.
Well, I think maybe we should talk to the town manager first.
Okay.
And if needed, maybe we should have 2 meetings, but we'll see.
okay,
I'm not sure I understand why what you're saying.
to kind of handle the caseload, she's proposing.
That it might be better to have 2 meetings instead of 1, depending on how many cases needs to be heard. So we'll,
2 meetings in,
2 code enforcement board meetings, maybe in December,
oh,
or 1 in December and then 2 in January.
Just a-
It's an option.
any
you know.
idea how many pending cases you have that extend over 60 days, Eric?
Well, just so you know, since February, I've written 1,028 violations. So
Since when?
since February. So 1,028 written. Compliance rates are usually between 80 to 90%. With the stack that I have right now for re-inspections and what I have that's already been re-inspected, that's still in violation, could be from anywhere to 400 to 500.
Wow. We need to start getting through this caseload.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to, I guess, yeah, we need to have a serious conversation with the town
Yeah,
manager.
I
Maybe in
think-
January, start doing 2 meetings if we have to.
Yeah, it will be a management decision.
And then how much notice has to be given? Obviously, if we have to, an additional, because that's not normal, obviously.
They have to be notified. We send the notices of hearing 10 days before the meeting.
Okay, and
Yeah.
then what, announcement on the town website or anything of that sort? Or is there anything official that when we gotta give notice to the town that we're having an official meeting? I'm just-
No, I would think that the 10 days is what is needed.
Okay.
Mhm,
Okay, so you're going to talk to the
Yeah.
town manager.
mhm. Yeah.
Okay. Further discussion? Okay,
Well, I have some comments though.
go.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make the council meeting, the last council meeting, but I did watch it on video. And I want to thank Deb, Jerry, and Paul for the excellent work they did in presenting our side collectively, our side of the discussion over having a
Magistrate.
magistrate I thought you did a very good job. It's clear, concise, and the council seemed to listen, and that was a good thing. So now, I do have a question on one that's on here. It's Best Electric.
Yes.
All right, now Best Electric, they just sold the house Monday.
Yeah, the new owners I met today because they're in the process of moving in.
All right. Did we get a call about any prospective violations before that was?
Yeah, so the new, again, I met the new property owners because I had to post a new notice of hearing today, seeing as the property's been sold. So I spoke to the new property owners. The old owners or the old owner informed them of the violation, informed them of the meeting going on tonight, and explained to the new owners that he was getting everything taken care of, which he did. After speaking with them, I came back to town hall where I saw the previous owner was speaking to Melissa. The final inspection was set today and it was done today. And the final inspection was approved.
Okay. Is there any liability on the town's part if we have violations out there and then the house sells with a requirement, or maybe should we contact the new owner and say, oh, by the way, if they didn't call us to say, you know, that there was a problem, or you might want to have this checked out?
Well, there's, the statute applies to that, or is segment end of the statute, because we didn't know exactly if they were going to comply, but there's an obligation on an owner, if there's a pending case, to contact or to advise the proposed purchaser. And if they don't, it's, and this doesn't particularly apply to the town, but it's considered fraud, a presumption of fraud. What the statute goes on to say then, though, is if there is a new owner, the town is not required to file a new case, but you are required to provide a reasonable time to correct the violation.
Okay, thanks. That's all.
Anything else? Okay. All right. So I presented my recommendations for, we'll call them standard fines, a guide for us to achieve some meeting to meeting consistency in our fines, which is not to say there's not reasons to increase or decrease these recommendations. But that, I'll throw it out to you and you guys can tell me what you think.
Are these fines daily fines?
Yes.
Okay.
What does the code say related to fines? Is it up to,
Up
I
to
think,
250.
250?
Up to 250, yes.
And there's nothing in the code that describes a guide for a fine like this?
No, the state statute says that in determining the amount of the fine, the board shall consider the following factors: gravity of the violation, any actions taken by the violator to correct the violation, and any previous violations committed by the violator. So if you were to adopt sort of a guide like this, which I think you can, but then you would want to consider these factors on whether maybe to raise it or lower it.
Right. And we can do that on a case-by-case basis based on the testimony that we hear.
Correct.
Case in point, Eric, with this case that was at Best Electric, there was 4 violations. We fined them $250. What was the reaction, or when you saw them when they realized how much we were charging a day? I mean, did they move quickly in action, or?
Yeah, I would say the property owner contacted and reached out to Manny rather quickly. Now, I do know for fine assessment, Charlie, it's correct that if they're a repeat violator, the fine could go to then a maximum of $500 per day, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
We should have
But
that on.
typically, you're not bringing the information to us as to whether it's a repeat violation.
Well, if it was a repeat violation, then when I bring it to you, I do have to present that because like, for example, let's say the grass is constantly overgrown or it's health and safety. When it falls under the repeat area, then it has to have more attention brought to it.
So the violation, is it to the property or to the owner of the property? Meaning the case with Best Electric, if we hear from you next month or 6 months from now that there's another violation, is this a repeat violation of that property?
Well, of the property, but not of the property owner. Because Charlie, I believe it's correct that it has to be the same property owner and the same violation within 5 years.
Right. Yeah, it would have to be, if it changes hands, that you would be starting over as far as it not being a repeat.
Okay.
And it is a 5-year window on it, and it has to be the same code section to go to the, above the 250. Now, if you had a repeat, if you had a violation of somebody who just keeps violating different code sections, that might be one of the factors you consider in imposing the fine, but you'd still be limited to the 250 unless it's repeat.
And we have had that.
Yeah.
And I think the main reason for imposing the fines that we did with that particular property is because the owners were contractors. And honestly, to me, they should already know what the rules are and requesting permits and everything else. So
That's correct. Because when Manny went out, well, Manny invited me to go out for the inspection. When we were speaking to the property owner at that time, Manny was pointing out stuff that, he didn't quite agree with. Manny, do you want to elaborate a little bit more on it?
Well, he had his own opinion or attitude about what required permits or not. I just point blank, you need the permit for this, this, and this and that. And at first he was somewhat objective, then he just realized that he's going to have to get permits anyways, whether he thinks they should have or shouldn't have.
Right.
So that was the bottom line there.
And the only thing looking at this, Paul, I think it's great what you're suggesting and everything else. But I think in this case, where we have someone who obviously does this as a living and a business, and I think those need to be more severe, like you had up here with major house structural damage. Okay, that's one thing, but I think the town with permit, or let's see, repairs without permits. I know you got that 150. I'm just saying, if they're in the construction business or they have, then I think that's, they're trying to take advantage of what they.
You might be able to take into consideration that it might be a homeowner that doesn't know he needs a permit as opposed to a contractor who ought to know that he needs a permit.
Correct.
And on that same note, if I may, when we do catch a contractor doing that kind of work, we do report it to the Department of License and Regulation. So he has a case being built against him. So if he's continuously doing this, he'll be subject not necessarily losing it or possibly losing his license.
Did that happen with these Best Electric?
As far as,
Reporting to the state that he's doing stuff without a permit?
well, I'm not sure if I can find out, but if the electrical inspector that reviewed the permit, if he is made aware that this guy did work without a permit, then he does, it's automatic. All of our inspectors, whether it be plumbing, mechanical, what have not, if they're aware that the contractor did the work without a permit, they do report it.
I just feel that the one permit, I know it's 150, but we got, a lot of these homes are 60+ years old. They need some serious, updating or obviously code modifications and stuff like that. I think people or a lot of contractors are going to be trying to cut corners, and I think a message should be, I don't know.
If you want to suggest a different amount, go ahead.
I'm thinking 250. I just think that you just deliver the message to both owner or contractors that we do it right for the state, especially like this perfect case. They already got it sold to somebody else. We don't know, kids, family. It's just, and
I believe for like health and safeties, like when we had the raw sewage issue, I believe that's one where you would do a maximum imposed fine because that's something that you have to get the immediate attention. So for health and safeties, I think, there's not too much wiggle room because of, the possible issues that may arise.
I think that there is some property owner, I'll call it confusion as to some things that require permits and some things that don't. Example, I'm going to confess I've replaced my pool pump personally without any difficulty and having no idea that the town required a permit. So
If I could just add to that, and the reason why there are permits required for something like that is just not so much because you did it, but if you sell it and didn't do it right, then the next person that get it may be the beneficiary of your bad installation.
I
We're
understand.
saying that,
I
but
understand completely. So that's it. That's the only reason I'm suggested it be a little lower, but
Well,
I'm
Well-
certainly open to.
Well, one thing I like, I'm going to take advantage since our mayor is watching us intently here. And one thing I've suggested to other councilmen, but I think we should put in our newsletter, the town newsletter or whatever, maybe a list, hey, listen, you need building permits for, and just list them on there and I think we have them on the website, but I'm just saying what we mail out too, just to say, listen, if you're in question, please call the town and see if you need a permit or not. But I think we should put all the lists, and rightfully so. I didn't realize you needed a permit. There's things we take for granted, and maybe it'd be better that we educate everyone to listen. Everybody jump on board and ask. Better to ask.
Like if I install a ceiling fan and fish the electrical line down the wall,
well, if I can.
I would not have thought that I needed a permit for that.
Well, if I may say, a light fixture, you can, if you take it and replace it, no. But if you're running new lines and stuff, yes. There's the difference.
I hear you.
And
Well,
Right.
And I also think that there are a lot of residents that don't realize they need permits to do whatever. And, that's.
like a fence.
Yeah,
We've had that.
Yeah,
And,
like a
and,
fence.
and people don't do the survey. They don't, there's just a lot of things that need to be done that people don't take into account. And I don't think they do it purposely, but I think I would prefer or wish our town we just do a better job in announcing, letting people know, please, all these items, you need a permit.
Education.
Education. If not, here's the telephone to call the town and ask us. If
I
you
think
need-
that's important, though, the fact that you do put at the bottom, if you are in doubt, call.
Correct.
I think that's an excellent idea because sometimes they say, well, I'm not sure. And then they don't.
And they don't realize that the requirement of having a permit with inspections is for their protection.
And
Well, I
those that
think
come
that-
after.
I think there are some contractors out there that say, nah, you don't need a permit. Or like a couple months ago when I said, do we ever let anybody not get a permit for a year? As someone had told me, no, my contractor said I didn't need anything for a year.
Or a contractor
Yeah.
calls it something a little bit different than it really is.
So,
I'd rather that our town have a reputation of going the straight and narrow and trying to do the right thing for its residents and that everybody should follow suit. It's only for their safety and for those that come to live in their home after they leave. So
Jerry, would you like to change that to 250?
I would.
Okay, how about,
I would agree with that.
okay,
yeah,
it
that's-
was,
yeah.
okay.
The other thing, in the area of fence where you've got everything listed at $50,
Mhm.
I think that pool safety might fall under fence / something else. And I definitely think if it's a pool safety
Mhm,
issue,
mhm.
it needs to be much higher, maximum 250.
Okay, so,
So he has unsecured or protected pools. Is that?
yeah, that's what I was thinking there. Under health and safety.
I guess we maybe
Oh,
put
okay.
full fencing.
Yeah,
You
we
wanna-
can put
That's-
Okay,
slash fence.
that's fine, as long as that's in that category.
Yeah. Okay.
And I would just say on the, if you have the business permits, the statute limits what you can let, the business tax receipts, if
Mhm.
that's what you're thinking of.
Mhm.
There's a formula in the statute for, how much you can charge on everything. So
That's
that's,
what I was thinking, the plus sign that.
okay. But looks like you're starting at 250,
Uh-huh.
which I think that's more than you can start at.
Oh.
Are you thinking total? What was it that you were thinking? That's not a daily, that's just a fine?
Yes, that was the fine.
So maybe we should put in parentheses next to it, fine?
You're saying it's too much?
Well, there's not a daily fine on that.
Right.
Right, it's just so,
250.
so much for the permit, so much for as a late fee, so much administrative, so much penalty, but it's all,
But I think
it's all
the
statutory.
Florida statute 205, which regulates business tax receipts, I think February 1st or March 1st, you can add a 250.
Yeah, it is, but I mean, I'm just saying it's statutory as far as how you want to do that.
Okay.
So maybe
Would-
not a daily rate or just, it's a flat fine or
Flat,
like we have at the crossing.
I think it would just be per statute,
per statute.
per chapter 205.
Okay. Per statute. Okay.
You know, the other thing too to consider is when you're getting complaints from the neighbors and whether it be the property is in disrepair or it's overgrown, we need to consider the neighborhood
Mhm.
and what they're having to endure before compliance is achieved. And to say it's worth $25 a day or $50 a day, I don't know that that's necessarily, you know,
I agree. I think that's where we
Just like we have with.
where we consider circumstances.
right, okay,
Multiple neighbors complaining,
right.
Well, hopefully we'll get caught up with all these.
no
violations.
cooperation with Eric.
But also I'd say also take into consideration hardships too.
Yes.
You know, I think
Yeah.
like, because talking about, neighbors and us representing the community, like with the one case I was presented with someone who was having a sick loved one or a past loved one, as long as it's not a health and safety and as long as it's like not a permit issue, I like that, some of these 25s, I do like that because, it shows that you're still, following the codes and ordinances, but you're understanding, hey, you have something going on. We understand we're all human. So, you still have to comply, but we're going to, give you a little bit of an, easement, a little bit of an easier, penalty.
And I also thought that if you think about it, if a person, the fine is $50 a day, that's what, for 1 week, that's $350. So anyhow, if there's no other recommendations for,
I have a recommendation.
okay.
On the seawall and dock,
Mhm.
I'm putting in a $30,000 seawall and it's not caught until it's almost done. $50 a day doesn't mean it's dropping the bucket. Now this, say.
Oh, you mean working without a permit?
Yeah, if you're putting it in without a permit.
Yeah, I was only thinking that it seems to
Well,
take
If I
forever to
can,
get a permit.
if I can just add, but you're going to be charged 4 times the
Quad
fee.
feed.
That's a penalty in itself. And if it's being done by a contractor, that contractor would definitely be reported as well. I mean, if you're looking at a
Would you
$30,000,
recommend changing it, Wes?
I would recommend to change it to $150 a day. I mean, people spending a lot of money
Well,
to put these things in.
I'm almost thinking that another category of working without a permit, no matter what it is, if it's construction or repairing or replacing a seawall, if we're going to charge $250 for construction, replacement, repair without permits, doing a seawall without permits should be the same.
Mm.
I'm all right with that. I just think that
Oh,
You're saying repairs. Like if someone had to repair, look, they're keeping their dock, they got a couple woods that are broken or whatever, they need to replace it.
That was my thought.
So this, what we required, I guess would be good is required repairs. I don't know about replacement, because replacement would be permit, right?
Well, let's ask Manny. If I make dock repairs, is that require a permit?
yes.
If I'm going to replace boards and,
No, not the replacement of the boards, but if you're taking the undercarriage of the dock and stuff, yes.
Okay.
Plus you'd have to get the required permit depending on what zoning district that is in.
Hmm.
You know, I think we have 3 governments that are that have the jurisdiction on some of our waterways here in town.
Okay,
You can put minor dock repair. I would think, anybody would think a minor dock repair wouldn't be taking the whole darn thing out.
So that-
I wouldn't think that, I wouldn't have seawall on that category at all. I would just have dock
Yeah.
and then seawall, because seawall is a pretty darn, that's a big item. That's a big ticket item.
Separate them.
take seawall off and make it a new category?
Make it a new category.
Okay. And seawall would be, did I hear 250?
I think so.
Jerry?
Yeah,
Deb?
Yeah,
replacing
Okay.
erosion. I mean,
You have to get permits from,
anything we need to worry about seawalls there, Manny?
What's that?
If someone has a seawall that doesn't function well, or, you know, is there a big concern, obviously? Seawall falls or
Best of my knowledge, no. The
foundation. of a
concerns
home?
would usually come from the neighbors that are abutting, because if that wall is in disrepair, you know, and it does happen to give way, they're concerned about their property. So usually the neighbors abutting the seawall that's in disrepair usually gets called on.
Or when Eric's out in the boat and he says that,
Well, you know what? Funny you say that, because back in 2002 or 3, I think it was, I did go with the police on their boat, and we went around looking at docks. But that's really, and even from back then, and from my best of my recollection, there wasn't really a major need for any kind of sidings. Maybe some property a little maintenance, scrape paint or something. But I don't remember seeing anything that was really of concern.
but we have had some docks collapsing and
Yeah, so as I've been going out for the last couple of weeks, I've been citing for docks in disrepair. There's several docks that don't have any proper lighting on it. I'm not sure if you know which canal the F canal is, but where Corandis is, several of the residents have already come into compliance. So those issues are being addressed. As for seawalls, there have been some that are being observed, but I documented it, and I'll be having conversations with Damon, and I'll be having conversations with the town manager about that in particular, because seawalls can have a lot more involved with it.
so under the category dock, should we add a category lights, lighting?
I would add lighting with your requires repair, replacement and / lighting.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in our ordinance, we do have a section there that does require lights if you're out so far. I'm not sure how far out or so, or how high.
No, it just requires them. So the way our code is written, it says that dock lights are required for safety, but it doesn't state what kind of lights you have to have, what color they have to be, or the luminosity. It just states lights. So when people have been calling me, I've been telling them mostly, go with the solar stuff, but if you want to add something more, that's fine, because a lot of them are reading into the code and there's a vagueness to it.
Right.
They're putting any lighting electrical, the way they're pulling a permit.
Permit, yeah, I was just gonna go
God,
there.
please.
So better put solar lights on it, huh? Okay, anything else?
Are you looking for this to be carved in stone?
No, I was gonna ask Bill if we could adopt a guide.
You could adopt it as a guide, yeah,
And just
and that's
attach
what
it
I'd
to
recommend.
this,
Yeah.
perhaps.
I used it this evening.
Emily, do you think you have all the changes that would?
yep.
Would someone like to make a motion to
I'll
adopt
make a
this as a
motion to
guide?
adopt it as amended.
And I second it.
Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. If there's no further business, I move to adjourn
So
All
move.
right, so move.
and let's go eat. Okay. Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Eric. Thank you,
Thank
Manny.
you.
Thank you.
Molly.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I'm
Bill.
sorry I can't join you this
Yeah, I
evening.
do
though.
too. Maybe
Next time.
Maybe next time.
Next time.
Blame it on the brother.